Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and frankly pretty unexpected intersection: ancient faith and artificial intelligence. It turns out some of the oldest institutions on Earth are embracing the very newest technology to spread their message, and how they're pulling it off is kind of mind-blowing. When you picture a church's media operation, what comes to mind? You're probably thinking maybe a simple newsletter, a basic website. Well, it turns out that reality is changing fast, and it's way more high-tech than you'd probably ever guess. And this isn't just us speculating. We're looking at actual training guides from church organizations that are building entire systems around AI. A guide from a digital ministry hub in Nigeria just nails it when it says, this is all about amplification. It's about taking what they do and scaling it up in ways that, were just not possible before. Okay, so just how deep does this rabbit hole go? I mean, where exactly is this tech getting woven into the day-to-day fabric of ministry? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a systematic adoption right across the board. The training materials show AI being used for everything from the more mundane stuff, right, like administration and training volunteers, all the way to the heart of their creative and spiritual work, drafting sermon outlines, writing social media posts, and even designing the graphics you might see during worship. Now, at the heart of this whole strategy is a really powerful system they call the content flywheel. This is the engine that really drives this entire operation. And get this, the goal here is to take one single sermon, just one, and spin it into more than 30 different pieces of content for the rest of the week. That's not just efficiency, that's an incredible force multiplier. So how does this flywheel even work? Well, it's a surprisingly logical process. It all starts with capturing the sermon and then using AI to transcribe it into text. Simple enough. But from that one transcript, the AI helps spin up dozens of other formats. We're talking blogs, social posts, you name it. Then it even helps design the graphics, speeds up video editing, cleans up the audio, before automatically publishing everything. And just like that, one message becomes a whole week of stuff to engage with. The result? The guides claim a 10-fold increase in speed. I mean, think about that. Imagine a blog post that used to take a volunteer, say, an hour to write. Now it can be drafted and polished in just a few minutes. For groups that are often short on people and money, that is an absolute game changer. But you're probably thinking, okay, this has got to cost a fortune. But check this out. The tool stack is actually super accessible. The guides even lay out a zero-cost path using the free versions of tools you've probably heard of, like ChatGPT, Canva, and CapCut. What that really means is any church, anywhere in the world, can get this strategy off the ground with basically zero financial investment. But how do you keep all this AI-generated content from sounding robotic? And how do you make it sound like your church? Well, the secret sauce, according to these documents, is something called the prompt library. It's basically a shared playbook of pre-written instructions. These prompts tell the AI exactly what to do, making sure every piece of content has the right tone, the right style, and, stays theologically on track. And this example really shows you how detailed and, frankly, how smart these prompts can be. This isn't just summarize this. It's asking for a story that's been specifically recontextualized for a local audience. This is how they get the AI to generate stuff that feels genuinely relevant, not just generic.
Okay, let's make this real. The input, a sermon transcript. The prompt, something like, give me a 1,400-word blog post, but make it sound warm, biblical, and practical. The AI gets to work, pulls out the key points, drafts the article, and a 60-minute job becomes a 15-minute one. But, and this is the critical part, the final step is always a human review. A pastor has to look it over and sign off on the theology before it sees the light of day.
Okay, so with all this speed and all this automation, the alarm bells have to be going off, right? What about the risks? I mean, how are they handling the huge ethical questions that come with using AI like this? And there's this one line from a guide that just perfectly sums up their whole philosophy: wisdom, not just automation. It's pretty clear the goal isn't just to automate everything for the sake of it. It's about being really thoughtful and deliberate with the tech. And they've turned that wisdom into really clear policies with some hard lines drawn in the sand. So on one side, AI is totally fine for things like sermon prep or drafting announcements. But on the other side, it's strictly off limits for anything like personal counseling, handling sensitive member data, or, and this is huge, making the final call on theological decisions. The boundaries are crystal clear. So, to make sure their core message stays intact, having a human in the loop isn't just a suggestion, it's mandatory. The rule is simple. AI drafts, but a pastor has to approve.
Every single Bible verse gets checked by hand. They need consent for personal stories, and crucially, the prompts are designed to stop the AI from just making up new doctrines. The human is always the final say. And look, they're not just flipping a switch and hoping for the best. The guides lay out this very deliberate 90-day plan. Month 1 is all about getting the foundation right, your brand kits, your security. Month 2 is when they scale up, launching short videos and podcasts. And month 3 is all about optimization, adding multiple languages, looking at the data to see what's actually working. It's a real strategy, not just a chaotic rush. So what's the big picture here? What's the ultimate goal of combining this futuristic tech with such an ancient tradition? So let's go back to that content flywheel for a second, because this chart really drives home just how much it produces. Remember that one sermon? Every single week, it becomes this whole ecosystem of content. We're talking short videos for platforms like TikTok and Reels, a bunch of social media graphics, a full blog post, a podcast episode, and an email newsletter. It's an entire communication strategy, all born from one single event. But here's the most important part. All that content, it isn't actually the end goal. It's just the start of a journey. The whole system is built to be what they call a community funnel. It's a pathway designed to guide someone from just watching a video online to actually getting involved in the real-world community. And that path is super intentional. Someone might first find the church through, say, a short video on social media. That might lead them to the website. From there, maybe they're invited to join a small group to connect with people, and eventually they're invited to contribute as a volunteer. See? Every piece of AI-generated content has a strategic job to do, moving people along this funnel. So in the end, yeah, the 10x speed is really impressive, but this whole strategy isn't really about being more efficient. It's about mission. The source documents keep coming back to this idea. It's a way to teach, reach, and disciple at scale. They're using 21st century tools to fulfill a really timeless purpose. And all of this brings us to one final big thought. What we're seeing here is a fascinating case study in adaptation. It shows a really clear strategy to gain more reach, more efficiency, and stay relevant. But it also leaves us with this pretty profound question to chew on. When ancient traditions embrace these incredibly futuristic tools, what is gained, and what, if anything, of that original human connection might be lost?